Circassian is a very unique language. There were 12 regional dialects of Circassian. Many Circassians will say, sit wo hueda, sit wo hueda. Hey everybody, join my free online Circassian classes. Spread the word, like, comment, subscribe, and follow me for more updates. Welcome everyone. Today is December 29th. This is Jonty, and we are doing our North American Circassian language class. How's everybody doing?
How's it?
Good. How are you?
Yeah. We're going to do something a little different. There's no walkthrough because at this point, you probably understand the material. We started this class, we started this micro story on Saturday, and we're going to do it as a group. Okay, so everyone, you can keep your microphones open, and we're just going to play with this. Okay, so remember the rules. I say class.
Sit.
Ham le yes. Ham le yes. Sa suret sos. La suret sos. Lera. Wa wuna le bosh. Oh, Lera wuna le yes. Wa bosh Lera. Wa bosh. Class. Lera wuna le yes. So remember, because when I talk to her, I say, Lera, you are doing the work. But when I talk, I'm sorry, you are doing the homework. But when I talk to the whole class, I'm not talking to Lera. I'm saying she is doing the homework, right? So that's why when I talk to Lera, and I say, class, Lera, yes.
Yes.
He's doing it. Okay. Ahmed.
Sit, Jonty.
Was a gorbos. Was a gorbos. You're doing something. You're doing something. Was a gorbos. Okay. Class. Sa lejra sisra.
Hawa.
Hawa. Sa lejra sisrkum. Sa zagwar sisra.
Hawa.
Sa zagwar sisrkum. Sa surat sisra.
انت
Sa surat sos. Sa surat sos. Ahmed.
Sit, Jonty.
Worry. You also. Worry. Surat bsura.
Hawa. Sa surat sharqam.
Haj. Correct. Wa surat bsurqam. Wa lejra bsura.
Hawa. Sa lejra sharqam.
What's it bsura?
Sa zagwar sauce.
Was a gwar boss. Zagwar sit.
Zagwar غصوان sauce.
Gwar ghasawan. Wow. Sittu ghasawan. So he's saying he's doing something. He jumped ahead, which is cool. He's doing something interesting. Ghasawan. Interesting. Okay. Lera. Wa surat bsura.
Hawa. Surat sharqam.
Haj. Wa surat bsurqam. Wa zagwar bsura. Hamra. Wuna lejra bsura.
Sa wona lejra sos.
Haj. Wa wuna lejra bosh. Lera.
Sit.
Hat lejra yisra.
و لجرا yes. How?
Hawa. Kat خط للجهة يسرى.
Lira.
You understand what I'm asking you?
Me?
Yes. What am I asking you?
Yeah, I get it. Who did the work? But شعركم.
Yep. Look. هم للجهة yes.
للجهة yes.
Yes. Bravo. Bravo. هم للجهة yes. Okay. Class. خط صورة يسرى.
ورسرة.
Janti.
جانتي. خط جانتي.
Yes.
Saras. Pez. So if you say it's you, you say warash. If I say it's me, Saras. Okay. Because sa, we all know sa means me, right? And wa means you, right? So if I want to say it's you and make it a positive statement of like, yeah, it's you, wa rash. We add the rash. And if I say it's me, sa rash. Sa rash.
Rush.
I noticed when you wanted to negate something, you would say, like, for example, if I'm saying it, I would say sharakum. Would it be wrong to say like soshkum instead?
You cannot say that. That is incorrect. Sirqum.
Sharakum.
Yeah, you have to use the question. It's not the question form, but that structure that you see on the right side of the slide. That's what you use to create the negation.
How many words are in the Circassian language? Since you
So
just tack things on, towards the end of a word.
yeah, it depends. So I think Lera is a linguist, so she probably can answer this better than me. But first, it depends on what is a word. So for example, in English, we have a word ran, we have a word run, we have a word runs. Some people will say these are all one word, just different forms of the word. Other people will say, one person runs, many people run, so it's a different word. Then you have a word like election. Election can be a political event. It can be something that you select on your health insurance policy, right? So it's one word, but it has different meanings, right? And so there's debate around what is a word. Now, that having been said, some people would say that a language like English has something like 50,000 words, about 35,000 of which are used, and there might be 150,000 derivations. English is a language that borrows from many other languages. If you look at German or French, these are German's not a Romance language. These are European languages that are very mature, very well defined. They have literature, they have movies, they have, everything. And a common dictionary would have somewhere between 35,000 to 50,000 words. I have multiple dictionaries in Circassian, right? Both Western dialect and Eastern dialect. And most of them have about 30 to 35,000 words. Okay, 30 to 35,000 entries. However, Circassian is a very unique language. It's called a polysynthetic language. We can construct words that have never existed before by using the grammatical features of the language. So for example, we don't have a word for bicycle.
Well, we don't have a word. I don't mean to interrupt you, but we don't have a word for 40.
For what is it?
40, a lot of it is being described. Like I've noticed it's descriptive words.
Well, no, so 40.
Look, it
the number
says
40.
20. It says that's 40.
No, so here's the thing. We actually do have a word for 40. We have two words for 40, and we have a word for bicycle. So in the Middle East, they say bicyclette. In Russia, they say velosiped. But we have a word, thaporagaj. It is the act of your feet moving forward in a circle, which is exactly what that word means, thaporagaj. So if you say thaporagaj to any native speaker, they will immediately know that it is a bicycle. For the word for 40, we have a score counting system like French does up through 80. So older people, especially in the diaspora, to say 40, they will say two 20s. And this is done in French. This is done in many other languages as well. This is not unique to Circassian. We will say 240s. I'm sorry, 220s. Olshit, 240s, 220s. In the 60s and in the 70s in the Soviet Union, there was linguistic reform around the Circassian language. And so modern speakers, younger speakers of Circassian, they will say ksh, ksh, which is exactly the construction of 4T. Ksh is 4, ish means 10 times, ksh, 40. So we have these words. We have these words.
I missed last class, so this might have been covered, but I was wondering why the root of the word changes for wa bush. Why isn't it whoosh like previous verbs?
Because whoever invented Circassian wanted to torture us.
Nice. Well,
Yeah, there are many, there's a handful of verbal prefixes and they do change. You'll see a pattern emerge. I'm sure someone has a book somewhere on those patterns. It's beyond my scope of it's beyond my knowledge of the language, but there are a couple of patterns that you'll see over time. I noticed some people were having trouble with pronunciation. So we're just going to spend a moment or two practicing pronunciation. For those of you who are in the class, please mute your microphone, but please do your best to follow along with me. So first, let's talk about the word for dog. Ham. Ham. This is not hem. This is hem. If you speak Arabic, this is ha, ha, ha. Okay. If you only speak English, it's a deep, deep ham. Ham. Okay. Now we're going to get to the word for work. Okay. The word for work is le, z, ra. There's 3 syllables here. Le, z, ra. Now, this first sound, le, le. You can do this if you only speak English. Sounds like English. This next part here, this sound is similar to, but different from, the middle of the word treasure. Treasure, treasure. Okay. Now, if that was the word, which it's not, it would be treasure. Je. But that's not the sound that we're making. We're making a slightly different version of that sound. It's z, z. On YouTube, the audio quality may not come through, but trust me, these are 2 different sounds. But if you're still learning, just pretend it's like the sound in treasure, deeper and richer than that z, z, z. Okay. And then the last syllable, ra, ra. بالعربي غين, غين. It's a ra, it's a guttural G that comes here. It's a guttural G, which is also a French R. Razumé, right? Razov, ra, ra. Ham, le zera, and then finally, yes, yes. Okay, so this ye, imagine you're from the South. Yes, yes, right? Yay, that ye, not ya, ye. Okay, ye. And then in Circassian, this is shh, be quiet. Shh. That's the sound. But we have this stick that comes after it. And so it makes it shorter and more explosive. S. Yes. Yes. Not yes. Not yes. 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 The first part is to hear it. If you can hear it, eventually you will be able to produce it. But if you can't hear it, you'll never be able to produce it. Okay. When people have an accent, it's not because their mouth is not making the sound. It's because their ears are not able to pick up the sound. So, ham, le zera, yes. Ham, le zera, yes. Okay. And then, sa, sauce. Sa, sauce. Wa, boss. Boss. What boss? Abiyis. Abiyis. Now, when we get here, this can be a little bit of a mouthful because you look at this like, oh, I have to make this s next to the s and s, and there's no vowel between them. How do I do this? Here's a little trick. Pretend this is not how it's spelled, but this is how you will say it. Pretend you're doing this. Ses sura. Ses sura. Ses sura. Ses sura. Se sura. Ses sura. Okay. It's the same. You say it the same because this is how you're making the sound this way, right? Ses sura. Just pretend that's how it's spelled because that's the easiest way to pronounce it. Ses sura. Am I doing it? Wa sura. Wa sura. Are you doing it? Abi yisra. Abi yisra. Is he doing it? This pronoun, it's not abe, it's not abe. Abi, abi, abi yisra. And this can be a little tough because you're going from a vowel to a vowel. Abi yisra. Right? Abi yisra. Then I think everyone was good with these words. Su, surat, surat. Winna, winna, lejra. We said lejra up here. It's the same lejra. Work versus homework, exactly like English. And then finally, something. It also means someone. This pronoun means both. It can mean something, an inanimate object, or someone. We don't know who, someone. Z, gwar. Z, gwar. The gwar. Someone or something. Here it's something. So we're continuing on. We're adding the adjectives. I am still doing the surat. Okay. So sa surat sos. Rim.
Sit.
Wa wuna lejra bosh. Okay. Ola.
Sit, Jonty.
Wa zagwar bosh. Okay. Okay. Acha. And then just to make it easy, all right, I'm going to do a delightful picture. And Reem, you are going to do easy homework. And Ola, the mysterious one among us, is going to do something interesting. We don't know what. She's not telling us what. It's not delightful and it's not easy, but it's interesting. Okay.
All right.
All right. So, class.
Sit.
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 Ham. Zagor yisra.
Hawa.
Hawa.
Hamlet Juho Yish.
Yisra. Ham lejra yes. Pez. Rim.
Sit, Janti.
Ham surat yisra.
Hawa. Ham lejra yesh.
Pez. Ham lejra yes. Wari lejra psra.
Hawa. Sa wuna lejra sosh.
Pez. Wa wuna lejra bosh. Sari wuna lejra sishra.
Hawa wa surat bosh.
Pez. Sa surat sos. Now I'm going to teach you a new word. It should be on the screen somewhere, but it's not. Sitwada. What kind? Sa sitwada surat sishra.
Wa surat the khasha bosh.
Pez. Sa surat the khasha sos. Wa wuna lejra pshara. Rim.
Nta sa wuna lejra tinsh sosha.
Wa wuna lezaga tins boss. Pez. Pez. Ola.
Sit, Janti.
Wa zagwar tins psara.
Hawa sa zigwar. Interesting. Sosh. Can you say it once? One more time.
Gha
Ra,
sa
sa,
wan.
rash, agwan,
Rashawan.
rashagwan.
Mm-hmm.
Sa zigwar, rashagwan, sosh.
Pez. Wa zagwar rashawan boss. Sa surat rashawan sishara.
Hawa wa surat dakhasha bosh.
Pez. Sa surat dahasha sauce. Khat wuna lezaga yisara.
Rim wana lajga yish.
Pez. Sit khoda wuna lezaga rim yisara.
Tinsh wana lajga yishara.
Pez. Rim wuna lezaga tinsh yes.
Yes.
Sari wuna lezaga sishara.
Hawa wa surat dakhasha bosh.
Pez. Sa surat dahasha sauce. Rim.
Sit, Janti.
Wa wuna lezaga dahasha psara.
Hawa سونا لجغة سوش.
Pez. Wa wuna lezaga tinsh boss. Rim.
Sit.
Qaja'a. Tell me. Qaja'a. Ola sit yisara.
Ola زگوار غشغوان يش.
Pez. Ola zagwar ghasawan yes. Ola.
Ta.
Ye whoops. Ask. Rim ye whoops. Sit abe yisara.
Sit abe yishara.
So you ask Reem what she's doing.
Okay. Reem wa pshara.
وست بجارة. سونا لجغة تنش سوش.
Reem, wari ye whoops. Ola sita be yisara.
Ola. ست وبشرة.
Sa. Sa zigwar gashagwan sosh.
Wow, was a one boss. Arashi, therefore, ham lejayes sa surat dahasha sosh rim wa wunalajaga tinsh boss awa ola zagwar gashawan yes. Peshka, correct?
Catch.
Okay, so Reem, you now take a stab at telling the whole class everything that's happening in the story.
حم لجغة يش. وسورة دخاشة بوش. سونا لجغة تنش سوش. أولا زغوارة غشغوان يش.
And Ola, you tell everybody in the class what's not happening in the story. So make everything negative.
Sa surat dakhasha soshqam. Sashaqam. Wa zigwar gashagwan sharqam. How do you say and?
Ichi.
Yichi Reem Surat Dakhasha Sharqam.
Yisarkam.
Yisharqam, yeah.
Pez, bravo. Round of applause. Round of applause.
Janti, two semi-related questions. Like, we know how to say homework. Is that the same word? What would be the word for housework? So when you say
Same word.
winner, I would say is the same word.
Yeah. Yeah. Circassian has a modernization problem, right? So a lot of times in the homeland, they will just say the Russian word for homework. Here, I try to, in my house here, we try to be as clean about the Circassian as possible. So we do say for homework. And then
Okay.
if the kids have to clean up the house, right, we use the specific thing that they're going to do. We don't really use a generic word for housework. We
Yep, yep.
say vacuum or do the dishes or clean up your room or do the laundry. We tend not to use a generic term for housework. We just specify the actual work that will be done.
Okay, thank you. And
Yep.
then is dachasha the same thing as dacha, or is that like a shortened version? Are they the same?
Dacha means pretty or beautiful or handsome.
Gotcha.
Dachasha means delightful. It can
Uh-huh.
also, in some circumstances, be translated as divine.
Yeah, Jonty, how do you say difficult? Can you say tinshkam?
Tinshkam means not easy. Yeah. Difficult. There's two ways to say difficult. You can say goh.
Oh, yeah.
Goh.
Cool.
Goh means difficult. There's also another word that we often use, and it's hatla. And hatla, I know you speak Russian. Hatla is tяжелый. So tяжелый, it means heavy, but it also means difficult.
Janti,
Jens-
can you say qins too?
Qeen, you can also say qeen. Qeen, yeah,
Cool.
qeen also means difficult.
Hasla.
Troublesome,
Cool.
troublesome.
Yeah, I had a question similar to Lyra's question. Can you give us the opposite of each word as well? We were trying to say dahasha hamra, dahasha m.
Yeah,
But I thought maybe like having the opposite would also give us more options.
sure. So I will give you the opposite words, but I will tell you there's a specific reason that I did not use the opposite words in the class. And the reason is linguistic research shows that when words are thematically related, you run into something called interference, which means that today, if I say little and big, close and far, boy and girl, it'll be very easy to remember. But 1 week from now, you're going to confuse little for big and boy for girl and close for far,
Okay.
because you're creating that memory at the same time. So the long-term memory, it's called interference. So that's
Okay.
why it's not part of the official class, but I'm happy to give you these words.
And thank you for taking that into consideration, the not to interfere.
Yeah, you're welcome. So delightful, if we say like something is delightful or someone is delightful, it's an abstract word. So one opposite to delightful would be adabinsha, which means rude. Adabinsha. Tinsh, the opposite of tinsh is goh, or hasla, or qeen. These are three words that are the opposite of easy. My 5-year-old daughter, she mixes languages. She's like, Baba, boring, right? Boring. So the opposite of interesting would be boring. And the word for boring is zashuwa.
I guess from Arabic.
Zashuwa. Okay. I could spell these for you, but you couldn't read them probably. So just do your best to phonetically spell them out.
Yes, Janti, I have two questions actually. First one, can you please tell us again what is neither in Circassian? Like neither this or that?
So neither is an interesting construction. There's no word that means neither. You'd have to so you know how in English we can say either or? Okay. In other languages, there's one word for that concept. But in Circassian, you have to say either, then something, and then or later on, right? So in Circassian, if we say it's neither this nor that, yemir, yemirqam. So it's ye, the thing, ye, the other thing with a negation. Ye, ye would a sibza, ye would a sibzacha, ye harapibzacha sibsathirqam. I speak neither Russian nor Arabic. That's false. I speak Arabic and I speak Russian, but that's how you would make that sentence.
Okay. And thank you. So the other question is, sit-khada is what kind, correct? So is this the same sit-khada for how are you? Or it's a different?
This is a little different. So in the diaspora, many Circassians, and it's correct, many Circassians will say sit-khada, okay? This sounds better in Western Circassian than it does in Eastern Circassian because it's a derivation of a Western Circassian phrase. From an Eastern Circassian perspective, this is probably a shortening of what kind of day are you having? Okay, so sitwada means what kind or what type or what sort. Sitwada in the diaspora is often used to mean how are you doing. In homeland, it would be a little odd for a native speaker to hear this. And we would normally say, Dawshit, how are you standing? Which is equally confusing to a diaspora.
A quick question. I looked at the next slides and I just want to know the difference between, because it's bothering me. I don't want to wait until Saturday. Difference between Sokwa and Sequano.
Sokwa is I am going. Sequano is I will go.
I will go. Okay, that was it. Hope so.
I had watched a little bit of the first YouTube class, and I noticed that you talked about Eastern and Western Circassian. So I wanted to know, is that kind of similar to how there's Bjador and Qabardai and those, everything like that?
Yeah. So,
okay.
Yes. So there were 12 regional dialects of Circassian. And over time, those regional dialects, if you think about it, as you go Western, so imagine that dialect number 1 starts in the West Coast of Circassia, and dialect number 12 is Kabardian, which is the easternmost region, right? So dialect 1 and 2, very close. 2 and 3, very close. 4 and 5, very close. 5 and 1, not so close anymore, right? So that's how our dialects evolved over time. Now, if you speak Arabic, you're familiar with the term Fusha, okay? So Adigabza currently has 2 Fusha. One is the Western dialect, and one is the Eastern dialect. The Eastern dialect is what we're practicing here, and it's called Kabardian, Kabardé. And really, there's just 2, I think there's a third one, but I always forget what it is. There's 2 major dialects that are spoken today in Eastern. There's Kabardian or Kabardé and Bastlane. When I hear speakers of Bastlane, I feel like I'm speaking to somebody from America, from Ohio versus New Jersey. It's such a minor thing. I would never really pick up the difference until they say pop instead of soda or wiener instead of dog, right? Hot dog. I'm in the Midwest, so we say dogs now. When you go to the Western dialects, there are more of them and there is a greater variety. So the difference between, for example, Abazak and Vjador and Shapsul, they're bigger than the differences between Bastlane and Kabardé, all right? Now, Westerners will be able to understand each other pretty well, but they are just a little bit different. And then obviously the Eastern dialect is even more different than the Western dialect. The grammars are the same, but there's some minor differences. So some of them are deal with pronunciation, and some of them deal with how the grammar is applied. So for example, in Kabardian, good day to you. We mahwafua. We mahwafua. If you're a Westerner, we mahwafua. We mahwafua, right? Now, what's interesting is my wife's a native speaker. And when she says mahwa, listen, I have a little microphone up here. So listen to how I say this. Mahwa, mahwa. Half the time I can't tell if it's hua, and half the time I can't tell if it's huh. It's the weird combination between the two. We mahwafua, right? So that's one. And also what you'll see is that sounds get softer as you go east to Kabardian. So for example, the word for boy in Kabardian, s'ala, s'ala. From a Western perspective, s'ale, s'ale. so that sa becomes a ta, right? So that's, again, that's a pronunciation difference. And then finally, the grammar is the same, but the way that the grammar is applied is a little different. So for some reason, you Westerners, you like to apply at the end of stuff. So if I say, that's it, ar, right? And then because we add to, us Kabardians add ush to the end of everything, arash, right? But the word is ar. You Westerners will say, ar, ar. You won't do the ush, but you'll add an to it. Or the word for sheep, maj. We say maj, right? And then the last thing is the way that the negation is applied. It's applied with all the same rules, but we will say qim, and a Westerner will say up. So for example, if I say I don't know in Kabardian, sa sarqam, sa sarqam. My wife will say sa'am. Also correct, right? The way you'll say it in the West is tsurup, tsurup. So that sa becomes tsa, and instead of qim, you say up, tsurup.
So I've heard that from other people. I'm sorry, did I cut you off?
No, I want to see if I had answered your question.
So kind of, yes, because but at the same time I have heard, because my mom's half of the side, they're all Bjador. So they speak Bjador, and I'm probably the only one that's gonna learn Circassian on my dad's side, and they're all Qabarday. So and I've heard people say that it's very hard for a person to speak one, like when you're comparing Qabarday and Bjador, it's hard for someone to be able to speak to someone who is not speaking Qabarday.
No.
Or like you have to be
False.
really, really good at speaking it or something.
False. I know many people like my mom and my dad. My dad grew up in an Abazak Qabarday village. He speaks both. He can switch between both. It's not a problem for him. It's not a problem. It's like, if you speak Arabic, if you speak Syrian Arabic, Jordanian Arabic is pretty close. Iraqi Arabic is a little bit further, but still able to be understood. If you heard somebody from Saudi speaking Arabic, it might take you a few minutes to figure out what they're saying, but after 15 minutes, as a native speaker, you're not going to have any problem with them. It's the same thing as Circassian.
That was actually the comparison I was going to make. I was going to say, is it like how they gas it up to be a different language, or is it like I mean, the hardest thing to really understand as an Arabic speaker is really comparing like Jordanian or Syrian to Masri, to Egyptian.
Yeah.
Because it's that's really like the most it gets. But I think what's strange about Circassians, could take this out too, is it's kind of an inferiority complex mixed with like a victimizing themselves complex.
First of all, amen to all that have been said. And second, I want to know what it's raining and it's snowing means, and it's okay if you write them in the Russian Circassian letters, because I can read them, or in English, or like whatever, it's fine. And of course, if you can say them as well. Thank you.
To say it's raining, I'll spell it for you in a minute, don't worry. To say it's raining, we say wesh oshk. Wesh oshk. And to say it's snowing, we say wes os. Wes os. So let me share the screen. Wesh oshk. Right? It's raining. I was going to make a joke. It's raining men, but okay. And then Wes os. Wes os. It's snowing. Let me just make sure I spelled that properly for you. Did I answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Of course, my pleasure. Let me just make sure I spelled this. And I did. Okay. So wesh koshk, wes os.
So what is like rain or water, or
wes is snow.
no, wash.
Wesh is rain.
Wash.
Wesh is rain. So what's interesting here is it's the same verb root, ko, but because it's wesh here, it's osh here. And because it's wes here, it's kos here.
Janti, if someone were to ask morchet or mochurchet, what are they asking exactly? I don't think they're asking for their name, but are they asking like where are they from or
No,
what is
no.
it?
So if somebody says, so first let's break this down. It means who is this or who are they, right?
Mhm.
So mir is this, and it could be a person, it could be an animal, it could be a robot, it could be a computer, it could be a plant. Mir, this. Then we have mor, that one over there, right? It's a little bit off in the distance, right? Then there's also ar, who's maybe not so far off in the distance, okay? So mirchet, who is this, right? And it, just like in English, who is this? This is my friend. This is Bill. This is the accountant. You can answer it in lots of different ways. Morchet, who's that person over there? It's Bill. It's the accountant. It's my friend. You can answer in any way. Now, if you see more than one person, mir becomes michr, mor becomes mocher. And the reason for this is that the way that we make something plural in Circassian, in English, we add S, right? Fish and fish, we just add S. Moose, no, I'm just kidding. So cat and cats, we just add S. In Circassian, we add ch, right? Jadu, one cat. Jaducha, cats. Jaducher, the cats. Mir, this one, this person, this thing. Michr, these people, these things. Mor, that one over there, that guy, that girl, that robot, that phone, that computer. Mocher, those things, those people over there.
Yeah, I have that with as far as with the mor and the mochur, what that all means. But as far as if someone were to ask me that, I would say, well, like you were saying, that's Bill. And I would just say their name, but they didn't ask for their name. So I just wasn't sure exactly what they're asking for.
Well, look,
Yeah, but when you answered, oh, he's an attorney or whatever. Yeah, okay.
Well, look, let's say you and I were in the New Jersey Chasa, and somebody said to you, Albert, who's this? You'd be like, this is Jonty. Like everybody knows who's Jonty, right? But now imagine that you and I were going to Starbucks and you see a friend from work. Who's this? Oh, this is my friend. Right? Same question, different context. It's exactly the same in Circassian. There's zero difference.
Okay.
Jonty, I had a quick question. What's the suffix for something being too much again?
Utwa.
Utwa.
Utwa. So ar yins, that's big. That's too big. Ar yinutwas. Mir pshtirs. This is hot. This is too hot. Mir pshtirutwas. That's a lot. Ar quads. That's too much. Ar quadutwas.